Welcome, Battletech enthusiasts. This is the next in my lecture series, given from the comfort of my morning commute, and meant to be listened to during your morning commutes, on Battletech tactics. Specifically, the 7 kinds of Battletech mechs and how they play on the tabletop. I think there are 7 categories. Now, you can be free to disagree with me, or you might think this is amazing, but I think there's 7 categories of mechs. One of them is the brawler, or like a tank type mech, whose purpose is not to dish out damage, although some brawlers can be very brutal at short range, but to just soak return fire and be like the focus fire target of your enemy. And it will charge out and be the lead mech as you engage towards the enemy. And it should be a very tough and hard to kill mech. And it doesn't necessarily, again, have to have supreme firepower, but it needs to be tough. Sometimes it can be very tough and have a lot of firepower too, like an Atlas or a Stalker, for example. The next class is a bodyguard mech. The bodyguard mech, you may have heard that term thrown around in other people's videos, but it's basically this exactly what it sounds like. Its purpose is to stay near your brawler and try to take advantage of tactics where your brawler is locked in with the opponent's brawler or mechs, and try to get back shots, and also prevent people from taking back shots on your mech by engaging whatever bodyguards or hunters they send out after your brawler. So that's the second category. The third category is the ranged support mech. This is specifically, its purpose is to basically kill steal or do DPS, like ranged DPS. If you kind of think in terms of raid terms, like on multiplayer online game raids or something. And that's exactly what it does. And ideal mechs for this would be things like longbows and catapults, things like that. Then the next mech type is a spotter. And this often isn't even a mech. It might be like a warrior helicopter or a Swiftwind scout car or something. But its main purpose in existence is not to engage the enemy, unless it just gets some shots of opportunity off every once in a while in rare scenarios where, for example, the back of some mech is exposed, but it generally does not try to engage. Its purpose is just to guide LRMs into targets and to provide line of sight. And so that's your spotter. And also, in case you end up picking a whole bunch of mechs that don't have hands and you don't know what the mission's going to be, you might consider having a spotter that has hands, like a Stinger or a Wasp. And also consider a spotter that has anti-infantry capability, like, for example, the Stinger or a Locust. Just because that is a stock. I'm also always talking stock here, almost always. Because those have those machine guns. So you might want to consider, again, the machine gun aspect as anti-infantry as a specialist helper in the spotter function. So the spotter isn't completely useless, except for spotting. So you can send it off on little missions as necessary in case you have to catch something and grab some sort of waypoint with a mech, or go after some LRM carriers in the back or something. The next mech type is the hunter. The hunter is a fairly high firepower and fairly high speed mech, like a Jenner. A Jenner would be a perfect hunter. It doesn't necessarily have to have heavy armor, but it needs to have armor comparable to or better than the mechs that it's going to hunt, which are generally one class lower than it or a somewhat size smaller than it. For example, a large, like a heavy hunter, like a dragon, might go after medium mechs, and medium hunters, like assassins and cicadas, might go after light mechs, and Jenners might just go after anything if it can get back shots or an injured mech or something. Like an assault mech version of a hunter might be a Zeus, for example. It's kind of like a little bit faster, and it has the ability to hunt down and destroy medium mechs. So that's the next class. And the final, well, there's 2 more classes. One more, another YouTuber has named this an anchor mech. And so I kind of like that name, but I would rather call it a space control mech. So you can either call it a space control or an anchor mech, but it's the same thing. Basically, it's a mech that can threaten a large area and shoot at anything that comes into a large region of the map. But it also has to be sufficiently nasty that you don't want to actually close with it. So you can't, for example, use a longbow or maybe even a catapult as a space control mech, because it's just not scary enough when you get close. So if you send mechs into that area, the first thing you're going to do is go close with those mechs and shoot them at point blank range, engage with your close range weapons on those mechs. And those mechs are just not that scary. So you want a scary mech as your space control mech. Something like a battle master or a stalker or a marauder, or even a warhammer. Those are scary mechs that can just control a large region of the map, and you don't want to really engage them at close either, because they're pretty nasty at all ranges. And a surprising space control mech is the urban mech. The urban mech is low battle value, so it's kind of easy to get, and it's a nightmare terror in the small mech scale range. Like you don't want to engage an urban mech because it's got a pretty powerful autocannon on it, and it's got pretty heavy armor, and it doesn't really need to move around much. That's also another feature of space control mechs, is that they don't actually need to move very much. They just need to be able to move to get to their location, and that's it. So anyway, that's the space control or anchor mech. And the last kind is specialized niche mechs. These are things like fire starters that basically serve only one purpose, which is to clear out infantry or something like that. And otherwise, they're just not that great a mech. Or you could get other mechs for the same battle value that would be better in general.
If you enjoyed this video, please go hit the subscribe button at the and that way I'll be motivated to make even more videos.